All right, welcome to the runningrestaurants.com podcast, where we bring you the tips, tools, and techniques you need to make your restaurant more profitable and successful. I'm your host, Jamie Oikel, and today we've got a series of tips for offering safe service while optimizing your takeout and delivery. Joining me is Bob Dupre, the founder of Restaurant Playbooks, which offers mobile and online trading programs for restaurants. So, Bob, welcome, first of all. Just unprecedented times here, right, with so much changing for restaurants. So do me a favor, share your quick take on where you are, where you're living, how things going, and then we'll get into today's material.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. And so what we're doing and how we're living right now is we're talking to a lot of restaurant operators that are staying open or thinking about what's going to happen when they open. And we're really trying to get a sense of where their biggest pain points are, where their issues are. And, you know, everyone's scrambling to try to survive right now and figure out what this future new normal is. So we're just trying to figure out how we can support operators as they're thinking about this from a training perspective. So it's been interesting. It's been an interesting process.
Yeah, man. The conversations that I'm having too is we're learning a lot, and it's unfortunately what we learn today kind of changes the next day. So we're adapting and rolling. But all right, so I know you kind of thought about this, and we have some points to go through today. And so start with where you kind of believe restaurants are going to be evolving now that we have COVID in place as far as takeout, delivery, safety mechanisms. What do you think?
Yeah, so, and this is based on the folks that we're talking to. We're talking to anything from 355 unit, multi-unit, fast casual down to full service, the whole gamut, single unit operators and so on. And what seems to be netting out is three phases. The first phase is all about how do we keep our customers and our employees safe. The second phase is all about how do we survive in this current environment that's changing every day, that's so dynamic. How do we keep current, but also how do we reduce costs, find opportunities to increase sales and batten down the hatches, but operationally really tighten up in the new kind of situation. And then the third phase is once the dining rooms start to open again, what's that new service experience going to be when you layer the COVID paranoia or just the awareness that everyone has about safety and really the hypercritical, eyes that customers will have at any step of these phases. So that's how we're kind of seeing it playing out.
Yeah, I want to talk about each of those. And for each of the three layers that you have there, you have right now this mindset of safety, protection, both for the staff, for the customers. How do you see them layering on?
It kind of feels like we're, for lots of folks, coming to the end of that first phase. We've been into COVID for a number of weeks now. So thinking about making sure people know the CDC guidelines and recommendations and doing the right things are coming into play. The challenge with that is we're all being asked to do things that just are against our nature, especially as hospitalians, right? Is safe distancing, this keep away, and and all of these elements that customers are really now focused on, they don't come naturally to us. So it's how do you think about driving those behaviors constantly? So an example might be an operator might have a great notification on their website. This is what we're doing. They might have some great policies on curbside takeout, or they might even have a staging table where the orders are ready for pickup. So they've got it all worked out. But if one of the employees comes outside for curbside takeout and isn't wearing gloves or isn't wearing a face mask, if there's anywhere where it falls down, it could be game over for the operators. If someone now tweets that, or if someone tells all their friends about it, is some element of that component. If there's 10 things you've got to get right and you do 9 of them perfectly, but you get one wrong, there's not going to be any forgiveness. So it's like, how do you make sure in that phase one that you're not just doing it once in a while, but it's like you need 100% compliance every day?
Yeah, that's actually, I mean, imagine that, right? Especially in the age of social media, someone's doing their pickup and they got their phone out. Hey, we're doing, and then you capture that moment where they're missing something critical, and then it kind of goes viral. And hey, these guys aren't being careful. So that's something obviously you guys specialize in, this training aspect, how to deliver, how to create habits, how to create things that will happen time and time again from repetition. Right. And so, I mean, from your background, how do you think we're going to get there? Is it daily meetings? Is it a daily touch point? What do you think?
It could be a combination of things. Number one, it's about having the right policies and procedures. So you need to look at every aspect of what you're doing and think about how do we think about this from a perspective of keeping everyone safe. So an example might be, it could be as simple as when you're processing the order and you're or processing payment. If you don't have contactless payment, you don't give someone the receipt unless you ask them, do you want the receipt? So it's just thinking about where you are and what you have, and how you're doing things, and really kind of putting the customer's eyes on, and a really critical customer's eyes on. So it's having the right policies and the procedures, but then it's also, as a manager, coaching to those on a regular basis. As they say, inspect what you expect, making sure that you're checking for that, making sure your processes support your team so they can do what needs to be done effectively, and then providing that training and reinforcement in whatever way you do it. So whether it's shift meetings, whether it's, what we did is we created some free videos so you can kind of let folks watch these videos over again. So whatever it is that you're doing, the main thing is, don't think of it as a one and done. Think of it as every day this needs to be managed proactively. It's not a kind of tick the box, you got certified on this, and don't think about it for 2 or 3 years. So it's, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just, as you're talking, I was just thinking, obviously folks that are operating, they're in curbside mode, they're in takeout mode, they're in delivery mode. And you've already hit on a number of these things, but are there specific things that you want to identify in that context of takeout and delivery that maybe hopefully folks have already thought about, or what do folks need to put on a checklist like that?
Well, first of all, the way that we're seeing folks thinking about it is how do you improve your sales? How do you reduce your costs? How do you look at safety every step of the way? And how do you protect your reputation, but also how do you build customer loyalty? So everything kind of starts from those things you're trying to achieve. So some of those things might be from a takeout and delivery process. It's everything from how you're answering the phone, what you're talking about when you're on the phone to give the customer comfort that you've got all this worked out. If it sounds like you're nonchalant and it's kind of like, well, just come in the dining room and we'll help you when you get here, it doesn't really instill the same amount of confidence as when you get on the phone and talk to someone and they say, oh yeah, we've got a staging table set up, we've got it all ready. When you come in, no one's going to come next to you, and this is going to be easy for you to pick up your order, and so on. So it's everything from what you're discussing and your demeanor on the phone and the confidence you're developing if you're talking to someone on the phone. If it's on the website, it's making sure you have clear messages about what you're doing and you're thinking about things. And then again, throughout the process, if you've got contactless payment, how you're thinking about that's happening. But then the handoff, if you're handing off, is what's that experience like when someone's coming up to your establishment? So do you have a poster in your front window or door where people can see what's going on and what they need to do, or how they need to go through the process, but also what's actually happening during that handover, where, is someone actually coming up to you and handing you something, or is it something that makes you feel safe? Does everyone look like they're doing safe things in everything you're observing as a customer? So it's thinking of all those potential touch points. If you hang up the phone, if you've just processed an order, making sure that you're using hand sanitizer. It's thinking about all the things that you're doing to keep your employees safe, but to keep your customers safe.
Yeah, you mentioned messaging there and having updates, and this is a tip for restaurants. Like, it must be a challenge to update all those spots, right? I've looked myself, gone to a restaurant website, and I know it's not updated with what they're currently doing. And maybe it's because they updated their Instagram page or their Facebook, but it is a challenge. Just remember, your customer is looking in that Google page, they're looking in their Facebook, they're looking at those different channels. So keep that stuff updated with your menu that's changing daily for specials, or your inventory stuff. And that is an important part of the process. So a lot of good tips here, Rob. Appreciate it. As we start to wrap up, any parting thoughts? What do you think?
Just really a couple of things is number one, you have to think of this as an ongoing process, right? Is take a really hard look at everything that you're doing in your processes and procedures and your training, and think about how this is supporting the safety of your employees, but also the safety of your customers, both from what you're executing, actually doing, but how you're communicating that to your customers, because they need to know, they want to know, and they're looking for these clues that you got it all worked out, and not that you're talking about it, but they can see that you're actually executing against it. So think of it, this isn't something that's going to go away. This is something that's going to have to be part of your business moving forward for the the foreseeable future. So there's that, but also thinking about on the other side on delivery and takeout, thinking about all the touch points that aren't necessarily 100% in your control, like the delivery services that you're working with. But think about how you can potentially proactively manage those elements as much as possible. So for an example might be what you just brought up with order times and order accuracy and keeping all these things updated. What we're seeing, some of the restaurant operators that have been doing this for a while, they're actually looking at this like it's actually a new role in your restaurant. Someone who's actually specifically managing everything around the delivery execution on a daily basis. So making sure all your social channels are updated, making sure your menu's updated, making sure all the things that could potentially go awry with order accuracy and people not communicating appropriately, and trying to see how you can get in front and proactively manage those, and having some folks in your operation specifically trained on how to do that, and making sure you always get someone covered to do it. And we kind of liken it to, think of a pilot in a plane, right? They could have flown 100 flights over the last month, but every time they get in that plane, they're going through a checklist, and you can't get anything on that checklist wrong, right? So that's the way you got to think about it, is every day you've got to be going through this checklist of how to manage this process and how to stay on top of it and get in front of it.
Yeah, yeah, and I do, and the talks that I've had so far, and talking about the future, people are learning so much about how to do this delivery piece now. And don't forget how to do this, because it's not going to go away. You know,
No.
build it on, and when your dining comes in, just add this onto it. It's such an important piece. So people are learning a lot really quickly. So I think that's good. So good stuff there. Where can folks go to learn more about what you guys do at Restaurant Playbooks?
Okay, so we've got a page specifically set up for our COVID videos and courses. So it's restaurantplaybooks.com/COVID. So what we've done is we put together some free videos that you as operators could download. You can put it on your website. You got a YouTube channel, Vimeo channel. You want to put it on your website and have your teams be able to use that as reinforcement. It's totally up to you. You can download them and use them as you like. So these are really geared towards operators, towards managers, and towards your teams to help to reinforce these behaviors, specifically in that first phase that's all about keeping them safe and keeping your customers safe. Soon we're going to have actually another playbook coming out, which is all about optimizing for takeout and delivery. So all the things you need to be thinking about as an operator, as a manager, as a team member, and really helping you with the tools to kind of work through that process, as we're learning from a lot of the operators that we're working with.
Awesome. Yeah. And folks, yeah, good. The URLs are they're on the back screens, but for folks that are either hearing this or reading it, we'll be sure to put that link right on the page, right in the show notes to Bob's stuff. So great, Bob. Thanks again so much for being with me. I appreciate it, folks. That was Bob Dupre of Restaurant Playbooks. You can find out more at restaurantplaybooks.com. And in this case, you add a /COVID, you'll get to their special coverage there. For more great resources on marketing and service and people and operations and tech, and of course, on continued coverage for COVID as we go through this, stay tuned to us here at runningrestaurants.com. Appreciate it. We'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.